My name is Clara Morgan, and I am 29 years old. On the day that was supposed to be the happiest of my life, I stood in a white dress beneath a canopy of soft lights, smiling for photographs I wasn't sure I wanted to see later. The room hummed with music and clinking glasses. Beside me, my new husband Mark Bennett leaned in to whisper a joke that made the people around us laugh. I laughed too, out of reflex more than joy. Inside my chest, something hollow rang like an empty glass. Not a single member of my family was there. No mother. No father. No younger sister. Only friends, colleagues, and Mark's relatives, the Bennetts, who treated me so warmly it almost made the absence hurt more. We stepped toward the cake, the photographer circling. As Mark shifted the knife into our hands, my phone buzzed in the secret pocket sewn into my gown. A message lit the screen, "We need to talk. Call me now." It was from my mother. Below it, a stack of missed calls, 31 in the last hour. I locked the phone and slid it back, my fingers trembling. What could they possibly want after choosing not to come? To understand why those chairs were empty, I have to start earlier, long before I ever met Mark. I grew up in a quiet neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio, where freshly mown lawns made everything look wholesome from the street. My father, Richard Morgan, was a financial consultant who believed reputations were investments, and my mother, Margaret, loved narrating our lives to anyone who would listen: holiday cards, church potlucks, the cashier at the grocery store. She always had a story about her girls. There was me, the serious one, and Lily, 3 years younger, with sun-bright hair, a dimple that arrived before her smile, and a way of turning every room toward her like a flower toward light. Lily danced ballet, played violin, and wore Triumph easily. I excelled in numbers and lab reports. I wasn't jealous of her ribbons or the applause. I was bruised by the way our parents' attention pulled around her until I learned to stand outside the circle and pretend I wasn't cold. In 10th grade, I came home with a letter clutched in my hand: admission to the state's advanced science program. I got in, I said, breathless, holding the page like proof I existed. Mom glanced up from pinning a rhinestone to Lily's costume. "That's nice, honey. Put it on the counter so your father can see." She turned back to the sequins. That same week, Lily placed third at a local competition, and we went out for dinner. My parents ordered champagne and toasted our little star. I stirred my soda and tried not to think about counters and unread letters. By senior year I was collecting scholarships and awards. On graduation day, I saved front row seats for my parents and one for Lily. That morning, a text arrived from Mom: "Lily has a big audition in New York. We're driving her. So proud of you. Take pictures." I did take pictures, of the program, of the empty chairs, of my best friend Nora Ellis grinning for both of us. Nora became the sister I wanted. After college we moved to Boston, split rent, compared paychecks like trading cards, and kept each other alive with cheap Thai food and better advice. She watched me call home less and less, saw me go quiet after holidays, and never once told me I was being too sensitive. When I cried, she poured tea and said, "You deserved better then. You deserve better now." I was 26 when I met Mark at a rooftop birthday party, string lights overhead, the city's breath rising from the street. He had steady hands and a laugh that warmed like a space heater in January. By our third date, I told him about my family, the missed ceremonies, the lopsided attention, the way my achievements seemed to land without a sound. Most people grew awkward and changed the subject. Mark didn't. He reached across the table, folded his fingers over mine, and said, "That isn't normal, Clara. You're not asking for too much. They're giving too little." It was the first time someone labeled the ache in words I could keep. At his urging, I started therapy. Dr. Myers called it emotional neglect, and the term felt like a door I could walk through. I practiced setting expectations to match reality, not hope. It wasn't surrender so much as survival, saving my strength for things that could grow. Still, a private, stubborn part of me believed that weddings are different. That for this one milestone, my parents would step into the light and stand there for me. On our 2-year anniversary, Mark rented seats at a tiny independent theater where we'd seen our first movie together. Halfway through, the film cut out and a montage filled the screen, quick edits of us at the harbor, at diners, in winter hats, laughing at nothing. When the lights rose, he was on one knee with a simple diamond that caught 1,000 stars from the projector dust. I said yes, strangers applauded. I felt, for once, perfectly chosen. We popped champagne at home, the bottle hissing like a secret released. Later, staring at my phone, I said, I should tell them. They'll be happy, Mark replied, and even before I heard the uncertainty in his voice, I knew he wanted that to be true for me. I called my mother the next morning. Mom, Mark proposed. We're engaged. A pause, long enough to hear her decide on the right tone. Oh. That's good. Congratulations. No questions. No details. Then, Lily just got the lead in a community theater production. Isn't that exciting? I said it was. I always said it was. We chose a spring date, intimate, 60 guests, a brick and beam venue in Cambridge with tall windows and a courtyard that smelled like rain. We picked lilies and hydrangeas, a family-run Mediterranean caterer, and a photographer whose pictures felt like breath held and released. I mailed the invitations to my parents, to Lily, to a handful of relatives who might not remember me without a return address. Weeks passed. No RSVP from the Morgans. I called. Did you get the invitation? I asked. Yes, my mother said, already somewhere else in the conversation. We'll try to make it, but things are very busy. It's my wedding, I said, steady as I could. Of course, she replied. We'll do our best. When I asked Dad about the aisle, he said he would check his schedule, as if time had slipped his leash and he needed to coax it back. Nora saved me from planning in a vacuum. She shook glitter into envelopes with the seriousness of a general, dragged me to seamstress appointments, vetoed a pair of shoes that looked unwilling, and threw a shower that felt like a promise the world intended to keep. The Bennetts wrapped around me with effortless grace, Linda Bennett calling to ask how she could help, Robert Bennett insisting on covering the band, Olivia, Mark's sister, organizing welcome bags with tiny maps and even tinier chocolates. Every kindness landed like a soft hand at my back, guiding me forward, but each also cast the outline of what I still didn't have. 2 weeks before the wedding, I ate a late lunch at my desk and scrolled my phone out of habit more than interest. Then my thumb froze. A photo, Lily beaming, a diamond cutting the light on her left hand. The caption, he asked. I said yes. Comments stacked beneath like confetti. From my mother, so thrilled for our beautiful girl. Can't wait to celebrate this weekend. My father added a string of exclamation points he had never used for me. I stared at the words until they blurred. This weekend. I checked the date on the post. Checked the calendar I had memorized. Checked again, because surely, even for us, surely they wouldn't. The engagement party, Lily's, was scheduled for the same day as my wedding. For a long moment I simply listened to the office noises around me, the printer chirping, someone laughing in the hallway, a door closing like a careful apology. Then I took a breath that felt too big for my ribs and set the phone face down on the desk, as if darkness could push the truth away. I told myself there had to be an explanation. A mistake. A careless oversight that could be corrected with a single phone call. I picked up my phone again and scrolled through the comments one more time, looking for some hint that the date was wrong, that I was wrong, that the universe wasn't aligning itself, again, around my sister's spotlight at the cost of my own. There was no hint. Only hearts, champagne emojis, and my mother's bright promise to celebrate this weekend, as if my wedding were a rumor she hadn't bothered to confirm. I dialed my mother's number with hands that didn't feel like mine. The call rang, and rang, and rang. When my mother finally picked up, her voice was cheerful, almost too bright. Clara. Hi, sweetheart. How are you? Mom, I said, forcing steadiness into my voice. I just saw Lily's post. She's engaged? A pause. Oh, you saw that? Yes, isn't it wonderful? Patrick proposed last weekend. It was so romantic, at that vineyard upstate. I gripped the phone tighter. Congratulations to her. But I also saw something else. You're having her engagement party this Saturday. Yes, that's right, Mom said, tone flattening. Just family and a few close friends. It all came together very quickly. I swallowed, my mouth dry. Saturday is my wedding day, Mom. Silence. Then, lightly, as if she had only just realized, is it? Oh dear, I thought yours was the following weekend. That's impossible, I snapped. You got the invitations months ago. I've called you about the head count twice. You RSVP'd. How could you possibly not know the date? Well, she said, her voice coated in that patronizing sweetness I'd grown up with, Lily has had this party planned for weeks. You know how important it is to her. It's an engagement party, Mom. Not even her wedding. Do you understand what you're saying? You're asking me to move my wedding so Lily can celebrate a proposal? I didn't say you had to move it, she replied, sighing, but maybe you and Mark could reschedule. These things happen, Clara. Be reasonable. I laughed, the sound sharp and humorless. Be reasonable? I have deposits paid. Guests flying in. 60 people attending. And you want me to, what? Cancel everything because Lily just got engaged? You're being dramatic, she said, irritation breaking through her careful tone. We'll figure out a way. Maybe we can split our time, attend part of your ceremony and then head to Lily's event. It's only fair. Fair. The word ricocheted inside my head like glass breaking. I ended the call without another word. That evening, I told Mark everything. He sat silently at first, his hands steepled under his chin. When I finished, his jaw was tight, his eyes unreadable. They want you to reschedule? He asked finally, his voice low with disbelief. Yes. Or at least share the day. He shook his head slowly. Clara, I know they've hurt you before, but this is something else. They're making a choice. And it's not you they're choosing. The words were heavy but true. My chest ached. I called Nora, praying she would say something, anything, to make it all make sense. She didn't. She cursed into the phone, her fury on my behalf almost comforting. That's insane. You don't reschedule a wedding for an engagement party. What is wrong with them? What should I do? I whispered. Nothing, she said firmly. You go through with your wedding as planned. If they don't come, that's on them. You'll have me, Mark, his family, your friends. You are not alone. But I wasn't prepared for what came next. 3 days later, my phone buzzed with a message from Lily herself. Hey sis. So excited about Saturday. Hope you can come by after your ceremony, it's going to be epic. I stared at the text until my vision blurred. No apology. No acknowledgement that she had planned her engagement party on top of my wedding. Just an invitation to attend her day instead. I didn't answer. When I finally confronted my mother again, her response left me cold. We'll try to stop by your ceremony, Clara. Maybe just for the vows. But Lily really needs us right now. Family comes first. Family comes first. I laughed bitterly after hanging up. If family came first, I would never have had to beg for their attention all my life. The rehearsal arrived, and with it, the sharp reality of their absence. The Bennetts filled the pews, chatting warmly. Nora fussed over the flower girl. Everyone was there, except my side of the family. At 5:30, I received a text from my mother, busy preparing for Lily's party. Hope rehearsal goes well. Love you. Love you. The phrase felt obscene, twisted by everything it tried to cover. At dinner afterward, the empty seats reserved for my parents and sister were quietly removed by Linda Bennett, who gave me a sympathetic smile. I forced a smile back, but the truth was brutal. I would walk down the aisle alone. Or so I thought. Because later that night, Mark's father, Robert, knocked on my hotel room door. He looked nervous in his pressed tux. "Clara," he said, "I know your father, well, that he might not be there. I wanted to offer, if you'd like someone to walk you down the aisle tomorrow, I would be honored." Tears stung my eyes before I could stop them. "You'd really do that?" "Of course," he said softly. "You've made my son happier than I've ever seen him. Your family now. Let me do this." I hugged him, my heart splitting open with gratitude and grief all at once. That night, though, a second betrayal struck. Nora, my maid of honor, my anchor through it all, texted close to midnight. "Clara, I'm so sorry. A family emergency came up. I might be late tomorrow, but I'll definitely be there before the ceremony. Don't worry." Her message was vague, unlike her. Something in my gut twisted. Still, I tried to sleep, convincing myself she would never abandon me. Not her. But the unease only deepened when I opened Instagram before bed and saw Lily's newest post. A photo of her trying on a glittering cocktail dress, captioned, "Final fitting for tomorrow's big day. Can't wait to celebrate with everyone who matters." Among the likes and comments, one name made my breath catch, Nora Ellis. And beneath it, a comment she'd written just 30 minutes earlier, "You look stunning. Can't wait for tomorrow." My chest caved in. I dialed Nora immediately. The call went to voicemail. I texted, "Are you really going to Lily's party instead of my wedding?" 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally, a reply. "I'm so sorry, Clara. Lily told me you'd asked someone else to be maid of honor, that you didn't really want me there. She showed me the texts. I thought maybe I could at least support her. I should have told you. I feel awful." The room spun. Betrayed by my family, betrayed by my best friend, all because of Lily's lies. I dropped the phone onto the bed and pressed my hands to my face, sobbing until dawn. Morning came anyway. There I was, standing in my gown, makeup artist patting away the evidence of tears. Allison Turner, an old college roommate I had invited out of courtesy, showed up at my hotel door with coffee and bagels. When she saw my face, she set the food down and hugged me hard. "Tell me everything," she demanded. So I did. And when I finished, she said simply, "They don't deserve you. But I'm here. If you'll let me, I'll step in as maid of honor today. No one will ever know the difference." I blinked at her through tears. "You'd do that?" "Of course. That's what friends are for." And just like that, someone I hadn't expected to lean on held me up when everyone else had walked away. Clara's wedding day had begun. But the storm of betrayal was only getting darker. The morning of my wedding should have been a blur of excitement. Instead, it felt like walking through fog. My veil was pinned into place, the lace of my gown trailing over the carpet, but the hollow ache inside me refused to lift. Allison, my last-minute maid of honor, flitted around the suite, making calls, double-checking the florist, even cracking jokes about our disastrous dorm cooking years ago. She was doing her best to distract me, and I loved her for it. When Robert Bennett knocked on the door just before the ceremony, offering his arm in place of my absent father, I broke into tears. "I'd be honored," I whispered. "Your family now," he said simply. "Let's make it official." The music began. The doors opened. I stepped into the aisle, my arm hooked through Robert's. Gasps rippled through the room, not because of the dress, though I suppose it was beautiful, but because the front row on my side was empty. Entirely empty. But then my eyes found Mark at the altar. His face was lit with awe, love, and something deeper, a certainty that steadied me when nothing else could. My chest loosened. Whatever else happened, this man was my family now. The vows were brief but achingly sincere. Mark promised to celebrate my victories as if they were his own, to stand beside me through every storm, to never let me question my worth again. My own words shook as I read them, but he never looked away. He held me there, steady and sure. When the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, applause filled the hall, covering the ghostly silence of the empty seats. The reception shimmered with twinkling lights and soft laughter. We had our first dance, and when the song ended, Robert stepped forward and asked to dance with me for the father-daughter moment. I wept into his shoulder. "Thank you," I whispered. "You're my daughter now," he replied. "That's what family does." I smiled through the ache, and for a moment, I allowed myself to believe that maybe, just maybe, it was enough. The night carried on. Toasts, music, the clinking of glasses. Then came the cake. A three-tiered confection, decorated with lilies and hydrangeas. Mark and I stood together, knives in hand, cameras flashing. "Ready?" he asked. I nodded, and we pressed the blade into the cake as everyone cheered. That's when I felt it, the vibration in the hidden pocket of my dress. My phone. I'd asked Allison to hold it earlier, but I'd reclaimed it during cocktail hour, just in case. Now it was buzzing again and again, insistent. When I glanced down, my stomach turned to stone. 36 missed calls. My mother. My father. Even Lily. And a new message, blinking on the screen, "We need to talk now." Mark noticed my expression. "What is it?" I showed him the screen. "Whatever it is," he said gently, "it can wait. This is our night." They made their choice. But a part of me, that stubborn piece still clinging to hope, whispered, "What if it's serious? What if something's wrong?" I asked. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "If you need to call them, do it. But remember, you don't owe them your time tonight." I slipped into the garden, away from the music and laughter. The night air was cool, sharp. My hand shook as I dialed my mother. She answered on the first ring, her voice frantic. "Clara." "Oh, thank God. We've been trying to reach you." "I was getting married, Mom," I said flatly. "What's so urgent?" Her voice cracked. "It's Lily. The engagement's off." Patrick called it off in the middle of the party. He confronted her, Anne. I closed my eyes, exhaling sharply. "What does that have to do with me?" "Because," she whispered, "he said he couldn't marry her after learning what she'd done to you." My body went still. "What are you talking about?" "She admitted everything, Clara. She lied to us. She showed us fake texts, said you didn't want us at your wedding, that you were having a private ceremony with just Mark's family. She deleted your real messages from our phones, intercepted the invitation. She told us you'd changed the date." We believed her. The world tilted. "You believed her," I echoed. "Over me." Again. My father's voice cut in, they were on speaker. "We should have questioned it. We should have called you directly. But she was so convincing, Clara. She cried. She told us she wanted nothing to do with us. We failed you." My chest burned. "And Nora? Why did she choose Lily's party over my wedding?" Another pause. Then my mother said quietly, "Lily told her you'd replaced her as maid of honor. She even faked texts. Nora thought she'd be humiliated if she showed up today. She believed Lily too." I sank onto the stone bench, my dress pooling around me, hands trembling. "So she destroyed everything. My wedding. My friendships. My family. For what?" "For attention," my mother whispered. "For once, she wanted to be the center without you nearby. She admitted it. And Patrick, he couldn't forgive it." I stared at the dark garden. Somewhere inside, a tiny, bitter laugh clawed its way out. "Family comes first," I said. "That's what you told me." "We're so sorry," my father said. "We don't expect forgiveness. But please, can we see you tonight? Just to talk?" Back inside, Mark was waiting. Concern carved into his features. Well, he asked. I told him everything, Lily's lies, the fake texts, the manipulation that had twisted everyone against me. He listened, his expression shifting from shock to anger to a stunned sort of silence. When I finished, he said softly, "That isn't sibling rivalry. That's cruelty. Calculated cruelty." I nodded, my eyes dry now. I had no tears left. "They want to meet us tonight. At the hotel." "Do you?" he asked. I looked at him, my husband, the only person who had never doubted me, and for the first time in my life, I didn't know the answer. The reception continued around us, laughter, music, clinking glasses. Guests twirled across the dance floor, oblivious. But I sat there, caught in the center of a choice I hadn't expected to face on my wedding night. Should I let them in, hear them out, open a door that had always led to disappointment? Or should I walk away, finally and completely, from the family who had abandoned me until the truth came crashing down? The decision pressed against my chest like a weight. And the night was far from over. At 10:45, Mark and I slipped out of the venue beneath a shower of rose petals, smiling for photographs that would always hide the truth of the day. We drove back to the hotel in silence. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, the weight of my phone in my lap like a stone I couldn't put down. "They said they'll come at 11:15, I whispered. Mark reached over, squeezing my fingers. "Then we'll face them together. You don't owe them forgiveness. Not tonight. Not ever, if you don't want to." His certainty steadied me, but my stomach was still knotted with dread. The hotel lobby was nearly empty when we arrived, a few late travelers, a clerk tapping at a keyboard. At 11:12, I saw them, my parents walking through the glass doors, faces pale, shoulders hunched. They looked older than I remembered, smaller somehow. My mother's eyes filled the moment she saw me. She rushed forward, arms half extended, then froze when I instinctively stepped back. "Let's go somewhere private," Mark said, gesturing to a small meeting room the staff had left open for us. The four of us stepped inside, the door clicking shut behind us. For a long time, none of us spoke. Finally, my father cleared his throat. His voice was rough. "Clara, we don't expect you to forgive us. Missing your wedding, it's unforgivable. But we need you to know how deeply sorry we are." "Sorry," I repeated, the word sharp on my tongue. "Sorry doesn't change the fact that you believed I didn't want you there. That you never once picked up the phone to ask me directly." "You're right," my mother whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. "We failed you. Not just today, for years. We always made excuses for Lily, and we neglected you. We can't undo that." My voice cracked despite my effort to keep it steady. "Why was it so easy for you to believe I'd shut you out? What did you think of me, deep down, that made that believable?" They exchanged a look that made my chest ache. My father said quietly, "Because we knew. We knew we hadn't been good parents to you. Part of us believed you might finally be done with us. And maybe we thought, maybe we deserved it." I shook my head, laughter without humor bubbling up. "So instead of fighting for me, you just accepted the lie? It was easier to let go than to face what you'd done?" My mother's voice trembled. "We were cowards. It's the truth. And we never imagined Lily could lie about something so cruel. She's our daughter too." "And where is Lily now?" I asked. "Why isn't she here, apologizing herself?" "She left after Patrick broke it off," Dad said. "We've tried calling, but she won't answer. She's vanished." For a moment, silence filled the room, heavy and suffocating. I studied their faces, lined with regret, wet with tears, and felt something inside me shift. Not forgiveness, not even close, but the faintest crack in the wall I had built to protect myself. "I can't forgive you tonight," I said finally. "I don't know if I ever will. But if you truly want to change, then it starts with accountability. Therapy. For you, for all of us. Real work. Not empty apologies." "We'll do it," my mother said instantly. Anything. Just, please, don't shut us out forever. I looked at Mark, his steady gaze grounding me. Then back at my parents. I'll think about it. That's all I can promise tonight. Back in our hotel room later, Mark pulled me close. How do you feel? He asked softly. Empty, I admitted. But maybe that's better than being angry. For now. He kissed my forehead. Whatever you decide, to let them in, to keep them out, I'm with you. Always. I nodded, curling against him. For the first time all day, I allowed myself to exhale. Days turned into weeks. My parents began sending messages, small gestures meant to prove their commitment. A link to a family therapist they had contacted. Articles my father thought I'd appreciate. Short notes that didn't mention Lily at all. Part of me wanted to believe them. Part of me still felt raw every time their names appeared on my phone. And Lily? She remained silent. No calls. No texts. Just absence, and questions that twisted endlessly in my mind. Why had she done it? How long had she been weaving lies behind my back? Was jealousy enough to justify the wreckage she left behind? Sometimes, late at night, I caught myself scrolling her social media, searching for clues. Sometimes I dreamed she came to my door, eyes wet, begging for forgiveness. Other nights, I dreamed she never returned at all. 6 months later, Mark and I were building a rhythm together, carving out something steady amid the chaos. The Bennetts remained my safety net, always showing up in ways my own family hadn't. And yet, the shadow of my parents lingered, a question I still hadn't answered. Could we rebuild anything real, or was the damage permanent? The last time I met with them, we sat in the office of a family therapist. The session was tentative, halting. My mother cried through most of it, my father admitted his fear of confronting decades of mistakes. I listened, I spoke, but I left uncertain. When Mark asked afterward how I felt, I told him the truth, I don't know yet. And that's where I still am. Because the truth is, some stories don't end with reconciliation or clean closure. Sometimes families shatter, and you're left holding the jagged pieces, unsure if they can be fitted together without cutting yourself again. I don't know if I'll forgive them. I don't know if Lily will ever face me. I don't know what family will mean for me in the years to come. All I know is this: on my wedding day, I walked down the aisle with someone who chose me, fully and without hesitation. And for now, that has to be enough.